if you are all set to go, we will get going. So I know just in that little chat right now, prayer has definitely been on the forefront for all of us, as it usually and generally is. So if you'll just put yourself in the presence of the Lord, please and thank you, and join me in prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Saint Gianna, pray for us. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you. So just, oh yes, our territorial acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the Zoom session is taking place in the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 people, region, in Southern Alberta. So just a few housekeeping items. Your mics are muted. If you do have questions, pop them into the chat. Joanne Anderson, our social studies consultant, and Jody Walls, science consultant, are both working on the chat. Like I said, the session is being recorded. We will have it posted to EPD. Give us a little bit of time once EdTech goes through and does the editing part, and we will have that up. We will try to answer as many questions as we can. If we don't get to all of them, you're always more than welcome to send me an email and we can address it that way. We are also starting on Tuesday, March 31st, Talk It Up Tuesday. So it will be kind of an informal drop-in Zoom session for that hour where you can ask questions of Joanne Anderson, Jody Walls, myself, and Christine Knight, the ELA consultant. Just if you have any concerns about different issues that are coming up for you, we'll take a look at any new resources we might have to share, and just to have some general kind of time to chit chat. So we do have with us the 4 core consultants. As I mentioned, we also have Joan Warringer, Spanish, and I think Rachel Cruckton is in here as well for FLA. So if you do have any of those questions, you can pop them into the chat as well. So we'll go through, take a look at some resources, what planning kind of looks like going forward, Google Classroom walkthrough, and time for a Q&A. So if that all looks good, we'll get started.
Hi, Shelley. I'm just going to pop in here and just remind people that we're keeping our videos off so that the bandwidth doesn't get too far gone and we have issues with the presentation. So thanks, everyone.
Sounds great. Thank you. So when we're taking a look at numeracy, the government did come out with their mandate last week. So we're taking a look at numeracy and literacy for grades 4 to 6, and then connecting science and social as we can. So we do recognize in this unprecedented time, we need a lot of support. We're all going through a degree of turmoil and crisis, that is for sure. So we're trying our best at IS to support you however we can. So we have created a number of possible templates that you might use to support online learning. So we're going to kind of walk through one of them today, what it might look like in a grade 4 to 6 classroom. So we're not mandating. Everyone's classroom is different, and how you want to set that up is up to you. We're just trying to give you some suggestions that might work best in your situation, but also keeping in mind that our students all have different levels of support at home. So a digital platform might work for some, but not for all, and really being flexible in our planning. So just thoughts to consider. Learning at home will look different than learning at school. So the planning that we do, once we kind of put it out there, then we don't have any control over what happens next. So really trying to frame our lessons with that kind of big idea. So when we're looking at numeracy, what are we talking about and how are we framing it, and then connecting it back to our program of studies. However, what we're kind of within our families, so many of our families have 2 or 3 kids or toddlers as well, and just trying to, you know, when we're planning some of our activities, if we can be hitting a broader spectrum. So especially with the numeracy, introducing card games, dice games, you know, so the whole family is kind of involved in hitting numeracy outcomes for a variety of levels. and looking at varying our learning experiences. So a balance between math discussions, visuals, some fluency practice, critical thinking tasks. And math is all around us. Like, my goodness, let's be creative and figure out how we can kind of incorporate some of those household toys like Lego and puzzles and whatnot, and outdoor activities to bring it all kind of together. The other thing I just want to highlight for a second is how are we making that connection happen with our kiddos? So we've seen lots of really creative ways. Teachers from our district have read stories to their students online, sent out a message, a weekly message, a little video, something to still kind of keep that personal touch. So just as you're going forward, how can you facilitate that? This is my little attempt down here with a Bitmoji, but trying to still make that connection and have some fun, right? Trying, like, you, for those of you who are parents, and you know, having those family kind of game nights so we can foster that love of numeracy and love of mathematics would be fantastic. As well, how are we connecting numeracy to the other disciplines? So taking a look, and we'll go through a couple ideas this afternoon, just how to connect that to science and social, the arts, religious ed, and definitely health and wellness, and then the literacy piece too. So you guys are all very creative. I know you will come up with ways that you can make that happen for your kiddos and families. So when you're planning, I just pulled the achievement indicators. I really quite like this document. I find it frames it really nicely in terms of when you're looking at number, that is the big strand. What exactly are you trying to highlight and develop with number in each of those grades? So what does that look like for you? How can you plan activities around that? And trying to keep in mind the scope and sequence as well. So where does this outcome go into grade 6? So you kind of have an idea of activities that you could hit a wider audience with. And this chart here just is highlighting some of the other ways that you could support home learning. So playing games, counting, baking, cooking, et cetera, lots of different ties that you can do with nature walks, going through the neighborhood, scavenger hunts, I spies, that kind of thing. And lots that we can do with data. This is a great one that we can connect very easily. So most of the focus really would be on the number strand because that has the majority of our outcomes. So textbook. Pearson has opened up access. So what I've done here is I've put the link for IMC, their EPD site. The access to Pearson, all of our copyright would still apply. So the way that Pearson has done this is they have a link created that you would send home to the parents, and the parents or caregivers would create an account. So I think Pearson is trying to track a little bit some of the data. As well, it alleviates us from any copyright in terms of posting a textbook page. So I have not gone in. I'm fairly certain that you have access to your teacher resource manuals, but if you don't, then I'm sure you can pop into the school and grab it there to support your planning. Oh, and just a note, sorry, Nelson is our other publisher. So Pearson is Math Makes Sense. Nelson has Math Focus, and they have not released all of it. They've done the junior high and high school, but we're still waiting for Math Focus. So just a note here for some digital sites. Math Storytime is a great one, especially for grade 4. This is an app that parents could download that has great mathematical books, storybooks that connect to the big concepts. Our ATA has a fabulous digital library for all subject areas. They do have some really good game links in there that you could use. In Rich, if you've never visited that site, it can be really overwhelming, but there's so many great little activities that you can pull for rich math tasks as well as online games. And Tumblebooks Math, it's an auto login, so you do not need to have a password, and you could send that home to parents as well. And I think Christy or Jody will hop on and show us how to do that a little bit later. And one more digital. Okay, so Mathletics. Mathletics has released for our district free licenses until the end of June. So even if you are not currently a Mathletics user, you could sign your students up. We're encouraging schools to look at Mathletics for grades 4 and up. And then we have a different platform for our K to 3s. If you need webinars or how to or anything like this, Mathletics does have a great site to support. However, you can always reach out to me and I can provide assistance where I can. So before you go and sign up your whole class, maybe just double check with your administrator. It's probably easiest if one person at the school was to download the spreadsheet here and fill it out for the school and then submit that to Mathletics. And it will take Mathletics a couple days to get all of the accounts created and whatnot. But Mathletics does a couple of things really quite well. It's a nice little resource for parents to have at home just to practice some fluency skills. They also this year have built out their rich math tasks. So all of their like teacher resources that you might use are built out into the resource hub. So for your own lesson planning, that might be a spot where you could go as well. So it's kind of a win-win. It can support your students as well as support you with your planning. Okay, so continuing on with all of these three things, please keep in mind Brain Pop and Junior Brain Pop has been released during the COVID crisis here. But as we look at all these different free resources, please just recognize that they're free for now, but if you fall in love with them and next year really want them, that might not happen. So don't get too attached to some of these. And also double check for alignment. This is an American site. Mathletics is 100% aligned with Alberta, but this is not. So just be mindful of what you are putting out there for your students. So now we're going to get into a series of learning experience ideas. So I've built these out in Google Slide just as a way that you could easily embed this into Google Classroom. The other thing you could do is if you needed to, you could print them off to support students who do not have access to tech, although you'd have to probably add a few other activities that would support that. So this example is a math talk. I put time on here just as kind of an indicator, you know, how long would that take you in the classroom kind of, just so that parents aren't thinking that everything that you're sending home is like, you know, a whole 45-minute kind of activity. So an example of a math talk, big or small. So 73 are big numbers when, like when you're talking about the number of cookies that you ate. And 73 might be a small number if that was the amount of steps that you took in one day. So just a little example there. And then I've linked here Padlet. So this will take you to EdTech site for how can you get kids to interact with that activity. So here I've just created a little challenge for prime and composite numbers. So this is just so they can figure out when you're talking about prime and composite numbers, how can you be communicating that, representing that? Then I've linked a little Google Doc here. So when you click on this, you can view it. If you were to push that out to the students, then they could each have their own copy and work on that and submit that back. So Jody or Christy will go over exactly how to do that in Google Classroom. Another one, I don't know if you're familiar with University of Waterloo. They have a fabulous site for problem solving. So problem of the week, they have just released a home edition. So on the bottom here, I've linked the home education. You can snip these, and I've just taken this example for today, snipped it. It does hit a variety of grades in terms of the numeracy outcomes, but there may be a fun way for families to get involved with rich math tasks and have some great math discussion. And then you could take a look at the different ways your students have solved it, perhaps when they submit it at the end of the week or however it is you're setting it up. They do send you the solution the following week. So just a little FYI there. Dice chats. These are fantastic. They're a great, there's so many different levels that they hit. So I just pulled one out here. How many do you see? How do you know? You could have the students go on to write different numerical sentences. They could group them according to patterns that they see. For example, like a Div 1 child could still engage in this activity, looking at patterns, where your Div 2s could be looking at number patterns. And then your grade 6s could be writing some kind of a bed mass sentence to go with it, or looking at the multiplicative thinking. So with this one, I did create another little document that you could push out to students through Google Classroom, just for them to kind of show their thinking. So dice chats, if you've never seen them, Dave Martin is a colleague in Red Deer Catholic, and he's got a great site. So I've linked it here for you to check it out and maybe do with your own kids at home. It's fantastic. So dice and card games, I've kind of talked about already. On the EPD site, I'll show you, there's a whole slide deck built out with different ones, but perhaps introducing one a week to kind of support your families with just highlighting the numeracy concepts again. So that is hit the target. Then I did put a couple examples just with dominoes. So dominoes, I think, are a common item families might have within their home, or easily accessible, that you can do a lot of math with. So I do have some included on EPD, but you can always type it into Google and you'll have a variety of domino games that you could do for numeracy. Another little idea here for equality. So Solve Me mobiles, I've just put it down on the bottom. Just another way that you can really work on numeracy and looking at equality, balance, patterning. There's a variety of different things that you could do with this example. So depending on what concept it is and what you're trying to hit, that would be the prompting that you would do with your questions. So once again, how can students interact with this? Flipgrid, I've used it myself. If I can do it, I think anyone can use it. So very easy platform to work with, and students love it. And it's a great way for them to kind of go through their math talk and their thinking. So we just took a little slide here from Let's Talk Science. If you're trying to find ways that you can really bring that numeracy piece alive in a cross-curricular fashion, taking a look at Let's Talk Science. When you click, I've linked it here, so when you click on this slide, it'll take you right there. But when you take a look here at their educational resources, you can search by grade, you can search by topic, and then go through Alberta as well. So it is aligned with our science outcomes. So a nice little project that you can be doing with your students online, like kind of, you know, it could be almost like your week-long or 2-week project, just to really get them thinking cross-curricular and how you use numeracy in other areas. Another math talk that I've linked, if you're not familiar with which one doesn't belong, these can be used, oh goodness, right from, I would say, kindergarten right up to university on that site, and they have numbers and shapes. So really you're trying to hit a little bit with the competencies here. So students would be defending and justifying their reasoning. So once again, having an interactive platform like Flipgrid or Padlet, that might work really well. So you can see kind of what their thought processes are. And it also gives you a little bit of understanding in terms of where is their mathematical reasoning in terms of how these 4 are connected and how these 4 are different. Oh, sorry about that pencil. I think I've kind of lost a few of the words. Sorry. And then that cross-curricular piece again, math movement. These are all over the place. Roller workout, different ways that you can have the kids being involved with math movement, getting them physically active, working on their health and wellness, and making it a fun little game. So I just put in one idea there for you. So now I'm just going to exit out of this and we'll take a little tour around the elementary math EPD site. So I'm going to click over here, go into my bookmarks. The district has these loaded already for us. So you can see right here, CSSD bookmarks. Now you could go into Tumble Books, Destiny, your email, Seesaw, etc. I'm going to click on EPD resources. So now you have access to all of our different sites that you might want to be looking at. All of them have been streamlined. So in terms of when you, I'll just show you here in a second. When I click on math, so this has not changed. If you visited the site before, this all still looks familiar. Everything is still housed in the same spot. So if you're wanting specific grade level, you could be looking here. So if you're wanting achievement indicators, for example, or specific curricular outcomes, that would be housed in here. We have assessment in here, instructional resources, whatever else. Lots of stuff going on there. Down here though, so on the far right, this is where you will find your home-based learning supports in all of our sites. So when you look at math, we'll click on this in a second, but when you go to science, social, and language arts, they will all be housed under this tab. So we do not have it housed in our general big tiles up here, but right down here. Okay, so on this landing page, you can just see here, I really shouldn't have just a big construction sign. This will, we're continuously updating and creating. So yes, check back often. With our Talk It Up Tuesdays, we will go over some of the new things that we have on our sites to support you. We'll try not, promise, not to inundate you with emails. So come back, check as often as you can just to see. And if you can't find something that you're looking for, or if you're wondering, I need support with this, send any of us an email, please. And we would love to support however we can. So now I just put a note here regarding the free resources. Like I said, you'll probably fall in love with some of them, but then we might not be able to support that next year. In this area, so Jody or Christy in a second here are going to go through some of this, but this is where we're going to be putting all the different templates. So with the templates we're creating for you, how we've done it is we will create a blank template that you can copy and then populate yourself. As well, we have created examples of what that might look like. So in this case, and Jody or Christy will speak to this in a minute, but they'll show you the difference there. We've put a link here to EdTech just to support you with some different tech platforms that you might want to be incorporating. So the Google slide deck that I was just working off of, that is an example that you would be able to access in this area. So we've created a Div 1 and a Div 2 one, and then a how-to. Then I put some links here to the other subject areas. In this area, what the plan is anything interactive that I've created. So I've created some drag and drop kind of like with the dice chats and with the prime and composite numbers. I'll put those templates in here. So I'm trying to keep them fairly like sorting template. Okay, so if you wanted to do something with sorting, then you could come in here, click on this, it will prompt you to make a copy, and then you can edit away. So as you can see, I have just a couple loaded in here. So please be patient. These are very much Div 1, but you might have a reason, to use it. But I will build out this site on this side will be for the Div 2 ones. The other piece here, common numeracy resources. So these are resources really that you could access, teachers right from K to 6 could access. So the math games, dice games, and card games, big or small. It's like a math talk, an engaging activity where you're looking at magnitude of number. So this is a slide deck. Once again, you could take a look and edit it for your context. So one thing that students really have a hard time with, and you've probably experienced this in your classroom, is they're constantly thinking of, for example, in Div 1, 100 is a really big number. Well, 100 people like in one place, like my house, yeah, that would be a really big number. But when you're talking about 100 people at a Flames game, not so much. That's poor attendance. So trying to really frame that. So for Div 2, I would access this to use with fractions and decimals. How can you get kids to think like, when is half like a really big amount and when is half small? So if half of my teeth, I go to the dentist and half of them need have cavities, okay, that's a problem, and that's where half would be big, but half of an apple, not so much. So trying just to frame that in a context. This site here is U-Cubed, where you can access some great dice games and different types of engaging games from Jo Bowler. She's a professor at Stanford. And here's the dice chats that I showed you before. So this is where you can click on this and it will take you to Dave Martin's site, and then you can go through, I think he has like 82 or 100 different slides, and he's constantly building them out as well. So trying to find something where you can see patterning, numeracy, whatever might be there would be a great engaging opener for your students. The other thing, Math Talk resources. So bedtime math, I know when you're thinking bedtime, you know, parents read to kids in, you know, grade 1 and 2 and maybe not so much after that, but these are visuals. So it's like a visual prompt, which are phenomenal. So it's also an app for parents, and they have 2 different levels on the app. So that might be a great one to send home to parents, just like they're great Math Talk visuals. And actually, you know what, I'm just going to show you here as long as I don't lose you with my bandwidth. But okay, so I am going to pop into Daily Math. So just a different variety in here that you could highlight with parents. This is a video, so I'm not going to click on that right now. But a great site, Math Before Bed, same idea. It is a downloadable book as well, a free book, but I do have it linked further down, but I'll just show you. So this is another app that parents could download onto their device if they wanted to. But here's fabulous visuals. So I could click on this. I hope I'm not going to lose you here. Sign up for this part, and then you can get the free downloadable book that you could snip and add to some of your different documents. So let me see if that will work this time. So just looking at number, kind of like in real life. So you're looking at this box of grapefruit. How many, how do you know? So once again, this could be a prompt that you could use with your students. I'm guessing these are double stacked. That's why they're inverted. So really a lot of different rich thinking that you could draw out of the students, whether you're using Padlet or whatever form to kind of gather that back. So that's in this spot here, the web resources. Which one doesn't belong, I've already talked about. So the slide deck that I just went through, that's going to be housed over in this side. So I've built out a number strand example for you. I'm trying to build out examples for the rest of the strands. So please just be patient. Then I'll link them, like also just cut specific grade ones too that you would be able to access. So with these, you would click on it, open it up, view it, and then you could make a copy and then edit from there. Here's the link for the Tumble Books Math. I'm not sure, maybe grade 4, 5, well, even grade 6. They do have some great, trying to think, Circumference and the Knights of the Round Table, for example. Those books are all in here as well. And then here's access to the digital resources. So Solve Me Mobiles. I've tried to link as many as I can that I feel would be very useful for you in terms of your planning. Open Middle, I didn't show you an example of that, but Open Middle is a oh yes, I did, the prime and composite numbers. Sorry, that's a fabulous site for those low floor, high ceiling activities. And if parents are asking you for different math apps, so most of them are consumption where kids are just constantly, playing a different game and not really engaging too much. But some of these in here are great. So they are free, the ones that I've linked here. You might want to take a look at to share with your parents. And this site over here is the ATA site. So that's where you will find, hold on. That is the same site, but that's the K-3 site. So I have broken it up right here for you, the 4 to 6. So my apologies, should read my headings. Division 2, so all of your resources specifically for Division 2 are already down here. Some of them are repeated in both locations because they're great sites for both. Study Jams is the Scholastic site. Okay, so my intent today was not to overwhelm you, and I sure hope that I haven't with all of this information. Go slow, take what you need, but please know if you are on Twitter or Facebook or anything, you are getting resources thrown at you like a mile a minute, and everything is free. So what we've tried to do on our sites is go through and kind of vet some of that and put it up here. We haven't put everything up because we really don't want to overload right now, but just know that there's some great resources here, and if you can't figure out how to access them or just need support with how to use it, send an email, please. And so the non-tech resources, I've linked a few here as well. So Andreas Burko, our fine arts consultant, when he was teaching grade 6, he did a whole blog post. So using the Math Focus 6 textbook. So he's got a whole series of videos that he created for his students, which he shared out to us. So if you are wanting to teach something and you just want to have a video of a teacher kind of walking kids through or highlighting whatever, take a look at his sites. He's got some great videos. They're fantastic. So just in case you don't want to go ahead and create your own, just know that Andreas has lent them or loaned them out or let us borrow them. We have access. And the last thing I just want to highlight before I turn it over to EdTech, interactive manipulatives. So all of these, and I think Christy or Jody will actually go through and show you how you can connect these to your Google Classroom. But these are places where kids would actually be playing. Like if you want them to be building something with base 10 blocks, then send that link and they can physically build on a base 10 mat. Same with patterning, there's fraction rods in there, there's 10 frames. Whatever it is that you might be using in the classroom, there is a virtual one, which is fantastic, so helpful. If you're really wanting to highlight some interactive or some math vocabulary, there is a set built out here already. And one note, when you send different information out to parents, if you're talking about like prime and composite, for example, we can't take for granted that everyone's going to have the same understanding that we have. So this Learn Alberta site, that is where the digital math vocabulary, so it's an interactive site. So I'm just going to open it up. If you've never visited it, let me just see if it's going to work. Maybe not. Might take forever. It's a huge site. But go into your grade. Across the top, there's a link where you actually just enter into the library or into the dictionary. And then they do have grade 4 to 6, and you would click on that grade. And then you can pick any of the math vocabulary words and link that right into your word, like just embed it into Prime, for example. So then when parents or caregivers have access to your platform, then they can click on that and see exactly what that means. So that is it for now on the EPD site. I know that was quite quick, but like I said, if you have any questions or need anything or can't find it, just please send me an email. And I will turn it over to EdTech.
Hi, Shelley, it's Brandy. Just a couple of questions for you. Some people are asking about copyright with the resources you have on your site. If you can just speak to them taking the resources you've spoken to and using them in their classrooms.
So all of the resources that I have linked here, if you are going to use the snipping tool and snip it and put it onto a Google slide deck, for example, make sure you have cited it or linked it back. I would not post like images right from your textbook. However, they are locked down. Now, EdTech, you're going to have to help me out here. The Google Classroom is locked down though, correct? So that it would be okay to post.
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay. My suggestion though, if you're wanting the Math Makes Sense or Math Focus, would be just to send that link home with parents or caregivers and they create the account. So then you're not going to be held liable for posting something if for some reason it did get out. And the rest of them here are links. So I'm not housing anything. I'm just scanning through. Yeah, I'm not housing anything that would violate copyright. I hope that answered your question.
Shelley, there was also questions about mathletics and printing at home. Is that okay?
Sorry, say that again. I didn't quite hear.
I can ask that, Joanne. Sorry, your mic is a little harder to hear. She's just asking about mathletics and printing resources and if that's okay.
I would have to go back in and just double check. I would strongly discourage going into mathletics and printing off a whole stack of fractions. For example, printing that off and sending that home. I have to go back and double check their exact wording. It is written blatant on the bottom of all of the mathletics resources. So if I am posting it onto my Google Classroom, that is still within my virtual classroom. But to go and photocopy a whole booklet and then send that out, just please, please, please double check at the bottom or go like at the bottom of the actual Blackline Master, or go check with your administrator on that one. I'll do my best on my end just to clarify that, but I would just caution you on doing that.
And I think Jody is here, Shelley, now.
Yes.
She got kicked out. She's back to show some of the stuff with Classroom. And if I can just remind people in the chat, just for our own sanity, because it's getting a little overwhelming as far as trying to answer your questions, if you guys can ask, keep the chat to just questions rather than other comments as well, just so that we can kind of keep up on those while we're monitoring it, and then we can kind of record them and hopefully later get Shelley to answer some of them. And I'm just going to pass it off to you, Jody, to.
Okay, so are you seeing the screen with my Google on it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hi everyone, I am going to be taking you through Google Classroom, and similar to Shelley's part, this will be very fast, but we are recording it so that you will be able to go back onto EPD and have a look and watch it at your own pace. So like Shelley said, in your URL, underneath your URL bar is the CSSD bookmarks. If you go to the very bottom, you can go to your EPD. And from here, you can choose who you're going to. Now, I would like to take a minute to just go to the EdTech. All of the Google Classroom videos and information are in the Google portion of EdTech. So if you are wondering how to do an assignment or you can't remember how to do something, please go to Google Classroom under EdTech's EPD, and all of the information is here for you. So with that being done, I'm just going to close tabs as I'm going through this because we did have some issues with bandwidth this morning. So now I'm going to go back into elementary math. And like Shelley said, all of these pages are the same here as they are in the other subjects. So this is where I go to get all of my material. Now, once I'm at this page and I'm ready to use some of the material, I'm going to go back into Google and I'm going to use my little waffle over here to go into my drive. Before you're adding things to your Google Classroom, you need to build out some of the assignments. So in another tab, I'm also going to go in to my Google Classroom. And I'll just choose a classroom that I have ready to go. The elementary team is currently working to build out a home-based learning classroom for you that we will be able to add teachers in as students. So they'll be able to kind of see what we're doing for classwork and that kind of thing. Again, all of these things are a work in progress and we're working on things and we're adding things all the time. So check back regularly. And once this gets built out a little bit more, we will share it with teachers. So when you're in your Google Classroom, the first thing I want to show you how to do is how to create material. So if you're sharing out that Mathletics link or you're sharing out other items that you want regular use, you're going to put it into your materials portion. So this might be, or your Tumble, the math link. So I have that assignment. I have my practicing tools. Let's hope that this is the math one. It is. So when I go down to the Tumble books, I can just click on this and right click and copy so that when I go back into my classwork, I hit add and I'm going to add a link and then I'm going to Control V this in here and I'm going to add my link. So now I have my Tumble Math in here. My students can go into the classroom, they can add it. Please, I know it says optional here under description. For your students and your parents who are working in Google Classroom, please put as much description as you can in here. And for sake of time, I am not putting in a description. If you have multiple classrooms, depending on how your school is set up, you can add the same material to multiple classrooms. You want this to go to all your students, and then remember to add it to a topic. So I'm going to add it to math. Google Classroom was having some issues with posting items, and people were losing items and things weren't actually being posted. So you can try posting for the first time. If it works, fantastic, it's there. If you are having issues with posting, you click up at the top and you click schedule. And even if I make this today, just for in the future, so it's 1:40. So even if I have this going out at 2 o'clock, which means it will be just in a few minutes, it seems to work. So then I hit schedule and it won't show up in your math. It will be grayed out, but you can see that it's scheduled for 2 o'clock and that seems to solve the problem of posting. So that's your materials and that's the things you want your kids to have access to all the time. Now we showed you lots of templates from on the math site. These templates are available on all the subject headings, the core subjects. So math, social, LA, science, we all have these planning templates. And we are continuing to build these out all the time. So right now we have two. We have a digital choice board, which these are the templates for you to use. And below are the examples that you can use. So if I want to, I'm going to try opening that up. Please be patient with me. So this is a Div 2 tic-tac-toe choice menu, and we've created a no tech one for those students who are sharing tech or just don't have tech. Parents don't want them to use tech. And below we also have the one with tech. Now you can copy and paste these into your own forms. You can use these as an example. These are set as 1 week of learning. So if I want to copy and paste this and create my own, that is great. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So if you wanted to take that and you were going to build this out, you are going to copy and paste. Let's say we're going to copy and paste the no tech one. Again, I'm going to go into my drive. I'm going to hit create new. I'm creating a Google Doc. And perhaps maybe I don't like all of the assignments, or I want to adapt something. We haven't worked on that. Then you're going to paste it into a new document. So as you can see, now I've pasted it. I might have to play with formatting a little bit. I'm going to maybe rename this Tic Tac. Well, my spelling's not so good. Tic-tac-toe and put maybe the week. So March 23rd to 27th is this week's tic-tac-toe. There's a fun Friday. Please insert something into there, like free writing, kind of something fun for them to do. And now I have this digital choice board ready to go for my classroom. So if I go back into my classroom, I'm going to hit create, and this time I am going to create an assignment. So this is my tic-tac-toe, and I named it March 23rd to 26th. Again, the more instructions, the better, because parents are reading this, students are reading this. You're not there to walk through things with them. So you really need to put as many instructions in as you want. So now that I've created this on my Google Drive, I'm going to go into my Google Drive. And if I just was working on it, it is going to be the first one there. So there it is, I can see it. And I'm just going to hit add. And now my tic-tac-toe is in there. I've given my great instructions. This is for home-based learning. All my students are going to get this. We're going to go with ungraded. If you have graded on there and parents and kids go in to see, it does say to the parents, this is worth 100 points. And that can be quite nerve-wracking for them, and so it's just, and it's not how we grade in the elementary. So make sure you're putting your points to ungraded. No due date, of course. Make sure you assign it to a topic or a week. So if you're setting your Google Classroom up by the weeks, assign it to the week. Just for this sake, I'm just going to put it in science. Also, remember, this is a big one. Depending on the type of file you're sharing, you can do students can view file, students can edit file, which means that if you give them access to your original, they will go in and edit it, or make a copy for each student. So if we do this, then every student gets a copy of that tic-tac-toe. And now again, I'm going to hit assign. If, again, like I'm having issues with posting and it doesn't want to assign, you go to the schedule and you schedule it. I'm just going to try hitting assign to see if it works. And head down to science, and it did. So there it is posted. And when we open it up, it has no due date. We have no one in this classroom, so there's no one to assign it to, but that would be the number of kids you have in your classroom. So if you have 24 kids there, it would say 24 assigned. And as they turn it in, this number will obviously go up, and you'll be able to check that. The other thing I wanted to quickly show you, so that is one of the templates that is on math, all the EPDs. The other one is a Google slide deck. So I'm just going to go in as an example, and the example that Shelley provided today, this would also work for that as well. So this is set up as a week learning for Div 2. And if I go down to the numeracy, and I really like this, I can copy this slide and create my own slide deck. So I would go to new, I go to slides, blank presentation. Sorry, I wanted to copy a different one because I wanted to show you. Oh, no, we'll have to do that one too. So there we go. I have put this in and it is ready to go. And you can leave a blank slide and your students would be able to answer in the one below. And again, I'm titling my title and I'm sharing it into my classroom. So Brandy, was there anything else with Google Classroom that I should be sharing?
I don't think so. And again, I think Jody went over already that we have a ton of resources on EPD for how to use Google Classroom. So if you do have those questions, I would reserve those for after you look at our EPD site, and then obviously email EdTech if you've got Google Classroom specific questions, because with Shelley's resources, we can definitely guide you through how to do the process Jody showed. And just to reiterate, Jody, this is recorded, so I know it seems fast, but you guys can rewatch it, pause it, and learn it as you're going afterwards.
So I also just wanted to talk before we leave about, Shelley talked about the Tuesday, Talk It Up Tuesdays that the elementary team is hosting. Sorry, I have a lot of tabs open, so now it might be starting to get. So that is going to be something that's going to be happening every Tuesday except for our Easter break. And you can sign up on the social or science website, and this is on EPD again, so it's Talk It Up Tuesdays. There's just a little blurb here. Grades 1 to 3 are going to be from Tuesdays from 10 to 11, and grades 4 to 6 are Tuesdays from 1 to 2. So on that time, you're just going to do the click here, and you will automatically come in to a Zoom meeting. There's no registration required. You don't have to sign up. This is meant to kind of be an open house sort of feel. You come in, you ask your questions. Once they've been answered, you leave. We will record it and post it on our EPDs so that you can go back in and watch if you need to, but it's just kind of an open house. And I know a lot of people were asking in the chat about non-digital for those kids who don't have access. We are in the process of building out a couple of templates as well for teachers to be able to use for those kids who don't have access. So please be patient with us. Check back to EPD frequently because we update it almost every day, and those templates will be available. Okay, Shelley.
Thanks, Jody, and thank you, Brandy. That was fantastic. A great overview on how you can use all of these resources in Google Classroom. So just a note, Jody did a great job going over the Talk It Up Tuesday. It is only on science and social right now because I just haven't had time to get it on the math, but it will. This part here, Talk It Up Tuesdays, will be on all 4 of our EPD sites. So you could join through any of those avenues. We just haven't got everything updated yet. And I think that is, I just have to share my screen here, Jody. So I'm going to stop with yours. And I think that worked. Nope, I've lost the rest of the presentation. I'm not sure where it went. But just to summarize, just please know that while we all are under varying amounts of stress right now, that is for certain, and everything is new for us and for our kids and for our families. And those of you who are parents yourselves, you know how challenging it is trying to, get your work done and trying to support your kids with their learning, trying to run your household and all those things. So we have to be mindful of that with our parents as well. So please just go slow. Dr. Zumlas has done a fabulous job with the district messaging and saying, less is more, go slow, give our parents some time, and we have to be very realistic with our expectations and our expectations of ourselves too. I know it sounds great working from home, but oh my goodness, it's hard to shut it off, and it's hard to, put boundaries on that. So really take care of yourself, take care of your families, take care of your kiddos. And I know this saying is really becoming, it's used a lot, but we'll get through this together, like we truly will. So lean on us here at IS. We are here to support you. That is our mandate, that is our job, and that's been our job from day one. So we've been getting lots of emails, and it's always, people usually email, I know you're busy. We are, but that's our job. And we will get back to you, of course, and we would love to support you on this journey and make it a success for all involved. So thank you very much for joining us today. Jody, Joanne, Christine, have I missed anything? Sorry to throw you on the spot, but I think I've gone through everything on my notes. Please join us again tomorrow with Christine's session, and the four of us, along with EdTech, will be here to support as well. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for being patient, and thanks for joining us.
Shelley, sorry, just to interrupt.
Yes.
Can you answer one more question? Somebody just had a good question in the chat about assessment, and I know we're working on more guidelines for that from the district, and the government has released some, but somebody just asked, so ungraded work, is that the message going forward, or is there something else from your point of view that?
So our mandate or our messaging right now, focus on planning for learning right now. We are working through, give feedback when you can and how you want to at this point. However, I would leave everything, especially in Google Classroom, to say ungraded. That will, like Jody said, send red flags or just anxiety that we don't need to create and don't want to create by having something graded at this point. There's been a little bit of talk about sending out Google Forms and doing assessment. I would just hold off on that. Let's give our families some time to adjust what this is going to look like. How can they get into a routine, if that's even possible? But give them some time. So we are working with our entire team, with the IS team, on assessment. So just hang tight. You can have conversations with your admin, but we will be coming forward and moving forward with a collective kind of statement or plan of action fairly soon. I hope that answers your question. Anything else before we go? Join us tomorrow and Talk It Up Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, I'm going to end the meeting now. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.